You're streaming CBS News Bay Area.
Thanks for being with us this Tuesday. I'm Ann Magovic, and it's a warm one, so let's get right to our first alert weather. A heat advisory has been issued for the Bay Area today, with some spots reaching triple digits. There is also a spare the air alert. Meteorologist Jessica Birch tracking the heat and a storm system right around the corner.
It is a hot day for us today here in the Bay Area. Let's pull up these numbers and show you all these triple digits stretching from Concord, Walnut Creek, off into the east, closer to Antioch, and down into the Tri-Valley area. Livermore today sitting at 101 degrees. Let's head up to wine country. By the way, yesterday was the first day of fall. Today's the first full day of fall, and can't you tell? No, I mean, we're talking about summer-like weather widespread from wine country that should be celebrating harvest right now, and they are, but it's just not feeling like it right now. As we head over into places like San Francisco, we're at 85 degrees today, putting us 14 degrees above average there. Redwood City today, 92. That's 17 degrees above average where we should be. 95 into San Jose puts us about 15 degrees above average. It is a hot day all throughout the Bay Area. This heat risk map really does a good job at highlighting that moderate to high heat risk, especially often in the East Bay, down along the foothills into the Santa Clara Valley. Today's the day you're going to want to take it slow. I know many of us work outside, so just try limiting your time outside as much as possible. Wear plenty of sunscreen. Take advantage of that work lunch break that you have by finding a shady spot and continuing to hydrate, and make sure everyone else around you is hydrating too. Now by tomorrow, it's a completely different picture. That heat risk map goes right back to low. Reason being is we have a storm system coming in from the south. This isn't only going to drop the heat risk map, but it also brings in stormy weather, a chance of thunderstorms, which we're a little concerned about, especially after a dried out day. But we are expecting rain too, pushing in from the south, winds pushing offshore into the evening hours Wednesday night. Notice how it's not a big washout by any means, but we could see some on and off showers in the forecast all throughout the Bay as we head into Wednesday evening and a little bit on Thursday morning too. So temperatures are going to drop 20 degrees from Tuesday into Wednesday, widespread throughout the Bay Area. We're going to hold on tight to 80s all throughout our inland spots, and as we head all the way over into the Bay Area forecast, we're talking about 70s wrapping up this week.
All right, now to our news headlines. Jimmy Kimmel returning to late night TV tonight after being pulled off the air nearly a week ago. But dozens of ABC affiliates are not going to carry the show tonight. Disney, the parent company of ABC, pulled the show last Wednesday following Kimmel's comments on Charlie Kirk's killer. Disney said it benched Kimmel because the comments were, quote, ill-timed and insensitive. But the company says after thoughtful discussions with Kimmel, they decided to bring the show back. Even though Disney has reversed its decision, stations owned by Sinclair and Nexstar say they will continue to preempt the program. We are learning more about a 16-year-old high school student who was killed in a car crash in the South Bay over the weekend. The family of Isaiah Mendoza from Sunnyvale left flowers at the crash site in Santa Clara last night. His classmates from Wilcox High School left messages and notes. Police say the teen was speeding on Lawrence Expressway Saturday night when he lost control and crashed into a traffic pole. He was a junior and a standout athlete. Police say his two passengers suffered minor injuries. New information about the man accused of killing two women in Walnut Creek last week. Police say the victims were his wife and mother-in-law. On Thursday, officers responded to reports of gunfire at a home on Colobra Court on the east side of town near Ignacio Valley Road. They found two women dead inside the home and took 43-year-old Howard Wang into custody. The women were identified as his wife, Lin Lin Gao, and her mother, Beimin Chang. Wang is being charged with murder, as well as allegedly making threats against Guo and preventing her from reporting a crime earlier this year. If convicted, he'll face life in prison without parole. Police say two juveniles are responsible for a string of gang-related graffiti incidents in San Jose. Police say the vandals left their mark at several parks starting in March. Investigators say they caused more than $10,000 in damage to city property. And today, police announced that they arrested a 16 and 17-year-old. They say the teens are known gang members. Kaiser nurses across California on the picket lines today. This is video from outside the Walnut Creek Medical Center on Main Street this morning. The nurses carried signs protesting recent layoffs. The California Nurses Association says they're also protesting the use of AI at work. Kaiser responding to the pickets saying, quote, "We refute any allegations that this picketing is about concerns of care quality and service at Kaiser. CNA is simply using this day of action as an opportunity to gain visibility for their union." Bay Area transit agencies teaming up today, encouraging people to ride public transit through the Bay Area. This comes as BART reports a bit of a rebound in ridership, despite some recent problems. Our Veronica Macias is at the Daly City BART station.
They're calling it All Aboard Transit Day. People are being encouraged by the agencies to jump on a train, hop on a ferry, take a bus today. And people tell me it definitely helps with congestion. It saves money for them. Recently, we have been seeing more people heading into the office. That's bringing in higher ridership numbers. There have been some major music events in the city. That's also helping with an increase. But let's take a look at those numbers for now when it comes to BART. They say they've been seeing some good ridership numbers for the month of August and September. August, they saw some of the highest ridership figures on BART since 2020, according to the newest data that was released just last week. They saw over 4.9 million riders in August using the system, making it the busiest month since 2020. We also saw improvements like the introduction of the new tap and ride system, allowing riders to use their bank cards to pay. That is helping. And if ridership stays at this level, BART officials predicting a potential 26 million addition to their net fare revenues, and that is going to help with their looming budget deficit. All of this may be helping. However, there have been some major setbacks. Let's not forget, this year we've seen 2 system-wide shutdowns where riders, they were left scrambling for hours trying to get around the Bay Area. Then there was a terrifying moment for riders after leaving the Embarcadero when smoke filled the trains in the Trans-Bay Tube. Still, for some riders, we're hearing this morning, despite all of the problems, BART has been reliable for them and they depend on the system.
Very reliable. I mean, we have ups and downs here and there, but it's very reliable. You know, I couldn't get to work if I didn't have BART. I wouldn't want to drive every day. You know, that's 2 hours from Antioch, 2.5 hours easily. So this is an hour, and I'm here. And then just walk to my job, and I'm there.
Roberto telling us that he spends somewhere around $300 in fares, and he tells us that beats having to sit in traffic or having to pay more for gas. We also know that Tuesdays seems to be the best day for ridership numbers. This year, they saw an 11% increase compared to last year around this time.
Well, for All Aboard Transit Day, BART staff members handed out stickers to some riders. The staff is going to gift some BART swag to those who are spotted wearing the sticker later. Still ahead here on CBS News Bay Area, dirt bikes and ATVs taking over the streets, ignoring traffic laws, and doing some dangerous stunts. Now one Bay Area city says enough is enough.
Your leaders will not tolerate this lawlessness.
We are cracking down with the help of some high-tech tools. Plus, the 49ers unbeaten so far this year, but their Super Bowl hopes just took a huge hit.
Warm weather is the big story for us today. Let's just say the truth. Hot weather as we head into this afternoon. Now our heat risk map highlights all the East Bay, the North Bay, and the Santa Clara Valley with either moderate or high heat today. Once we head into our forecast tomorrow, low pressure moves in fast. That drops us 20 degrees back into the 80s. But not only just cool weather, we're also gearing up for stormy weather too. Showers are expected in the forecast tomorrow with cooler weather, cloudier skies, and a chance of thunderstorm activity. So we're keeping a very close eye on that. Here in the Weather Center, we start to dry up heading into the weekend.
Well, today, President Trump criticized European allies in his speech to the United Nations and said, quote, "Your countries are going to hell." He made that remark when referring to open border policies. The president was one of the first speakers at the UN General Assembly, which kicked off in New York. He began by declaring now as the golden age of America, claiming inflation, gas prices, and energy costs are down. But as Jared Hill reports, his views on the international body are anything but golden.
President Trump's speech at the United Nations General Assembly opened with a lighthearted technical issue.
That whoever's operating this teleprompter is in big trouble.
But Trump brought a serious message for world leaders, telling them the United Nations isn't living up to its potential.
What is the purpose of the United Nations?
The president claimed to have ended 7 wars and said he got no help from the UN.
For the most part, at least for now, all they seem to do is write a really strongly worded letter and then never follow that letter up. It's empty words, and empty words don't solve war.
Trump has been calling for a deal to end the fighting between Israel and Hamas, but says the creation of a Palestinian state would only reward Hamas.
But instead of giving in to Hamas's ransom demands, those who want peace should be united with one message: release the hostages now.
Several close U.S. allies are joining a growing list of nations who say they'll recognize a Palestinian state. France joining that list just yesterday.
Et le peuple palestinien.
President Trump also said he thought he would have ended Russia's war against Ukraine by now.
I thought that would be the easiest because of my relationship with President Putin, which had always been a good one.
Overnight, Ukraine said Russian missile strikes killed 2 people and damaged civilian infrastructure, while Russia says it intercepted drones headed for Moscow.
Well, the White House says the president is meeting today with Arab and Muslim leaders to talk about ways to end the war in Gaza. He's also separately meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. A camera shop in Pleasant Hill targeted by thieves twice in 24 hours. Surveillance camera footage shows a handful of masked suspects running into Mike's camera on Sunday afternoon. The store manager says the thieves assaulted employees and stole thousands of dollars worth of equipment. And then at around 3:30 Monday morning, a stolen car was rammed into the store. Employees say nothing was stolen that time, but it left a lot of damage to the building.
We are always here to help our customers, be with the community, the photographic community. You know, we are all photographers in here. We all want to help one another, but it gets really, really hard when you constantly have people running in and ransacking the place.
Yeah. Employees say this is the 4th time the shop has been targeted by thieves in recent months, so the store is now closed until further notice. A San Ramon jewelry store was also the target of an armed robbery. This was yesterday afternoon at Heller Jewelers on Bollinger Canyon Road. Police say about 20 masked suspects, some armed with guns, entered the store, broke display cases, and took a bunch of stuff before escaping in waiting cars. Nobody in the store was injured, and law enforcement was able to track down and detain some of the suspects in Oakland and in Dublin. Enough is enough in one Bay Area city. The city of San Francisco says they are no longer tolerating these packs of dirt bike riders doing dangerous tricks, roving through some of the city's hot spots and causing chaos on the streets. Police and city leaders have announced a new strategy to crack down using some high-tech tools. And as Brett Hamilton shows us, they've already confiscated bikes and made some arrests.
Edward Sue knows almost exactly when this started and how often it's happened.
Coming quite often, twice in a week, they're coming in.
For 2 years, the chairman of Chinatown Merchants United Association says that he and others have urged police to stop what they're calling the dirt bike problem. Large groups of people on illegal dirt bikes swarming city streets, often riding recklessly and breaking traffic rules. He says the answer back was always
that they cannot chase them, they cannot pursue them.
Well, we're doing something about it.
But on Monday, a sign the city is taking a tougher stance as San Francisco police and Mayor Daniel Lurie came together at the Daly City impound lot.
San Francisco carried out a major dirt bike enforcement operation using every tool possible to do it effectively and without endangering the public.
On display, 6 dirt bikes and an ATV. Seized Sunday, 4 of the bikes stolen from outside the Bay Area. Police also arrested 4 people on charges that included joyriding. Interim Police Chief Paul Yep explained that these kinds of arrests can be challenging. He credited new technology like drones, automated license plate readers, and surveillance cameras for helping nail down the suspects, avoiding potentially dangerous chases. And he hinted more arrests could be on the way.
Our investigators will continue to follow leads and identify additional suspects in the days and weeks to come.
To everyone in San Francisco and outside the city, your leaders will not tolerate this lawlessness. This dangerous behavior has no place in San Francisco.
Music to the ears of folks like Edward, who say stopping this dangerous riding is vital to keeping Chinatown safe and open for business. And his message back to the mayor:
I would like ask him, encourage him, keep go on.
Supervisor Danny Sauter was at today's press conference. He says next week he is going to introduce legislation that would increase the fines on illegal dirt biking. He says the current fines in place are a lot lower than other cities.
And of course, this is not just a San Francisco problem. We've seen a number of incidents like this in Oakland and other Bay Area cities. This video shows dozens of bikers and quad riders on the streets near Lake Merritt last August. New efforts to get more police officers on the streets of Oakland. The Oakland branch of the NAACP is teaming up with the city now, trying to boost recruitment. This comes as city leaders say they are at a crisis point when it comes to police staffing. Last week, OPD's chief revealed there are only 511 fully available officers. That is well below the short-term goal of 700. Right now, 133 officers are on leave or limited duty. That is about 20% of the force. The partnership between the city and the civil rights organization will include funding 5 police academies and recruiting in Oakland to fill the vacancies. They say the goal is to involve the community to make a difference in the city.
There are many people out there wondering why in the world is the NAACP partnering with OPD. We are partnering because our community needs the help.
That's why this push is really on getting Oaklanders to see that we have the agency to protect ourselves. And so join the police force.
And they say they're also specifically looking to recruit more women. Their goal is to have women represent 30% of OPD's workforce by the year 2030. The 49ers, one of 6 unbeaten teams left in the NFL this season, yet their Super Bowl chances just took a huge hit. Vern Glenn has more on the big loss on the defense for the Niners and reaction from his teammates.
This is the Audi Red and Gold Report.
The 49ers are 3-0 after Sunday's win over Arizona, but boy, the good feels of Victory Monday did not last long. A Monday MRI confirmed Nick Bosa, the Niners' best defensive player, is lost for the season after tearing his left ACL on this play Sunday against Arizona. He knew it was trouble when he gave the thumbs down. Bosa will have surgery, and we might not see him on the field for a year. Bosa tore his right ACL in 2020. Another Niners injury blow this season.
Unfortunately, we know too well about guys going down and next man up mentality.
It's a real buzzkill. I can honestly say that, going down to win the game, to drive to win the game, I thought about Nick plenty of times. I was in the huddle. It's cliche to say it's the next man up league. When you lose a guy like that, you need 3 or 4 guys to come and fill those shoes. So I think we got the depth and we got the youth. So, hopefully they can continue to improve.
With the Red and Gold Report, I'm Vern Glenn.
Well, tune in tomorrow for our weekly 49ers Experience show with Vern and Matt Lively. That is at 7:30 on KPIX and streaming on the free CBS News app. Still ahead here on CBS News Bay Area, one East Bay city is ahead of the curve when it comes to drought readiness. They'll just need to get rid of a lot of salt.
It is clean and filtered water. It just has a lot of salt in it.
Yeah, we're going to take you inside the new water treatment plant that will provide more than a third of this city's water.
Relative humidity is low today, on top of the fact that we're in the moderate to high heat risk throughout the East Bay and the Santa Clara Valley. I turn the page to our forecast tomorrow, though. Notice how that goes completely away. We're back to low conditions as we head into our forecast tomorrow. Temperatures below average, actually, in some parts of the Bay Area as we're gearing up for storms sweeping in Wednesday morning throughout the South Bay, pushing up into the North Bay throughout the afternoon and evening hours tomorrow night. It will wring out a little bit more moisture into Thursday morning before it starts to track off into the east, clearing us up as we head into this weekend's forecast. So we start off with the Bay forecast. I want to show you today we're in the 80s throughout most of the Bay, and then we cool down fast to the 70s with showers in the forecast tomorrow, averaging out into the mid 70s as we head into this weekend by Friday, heading into Saturday with some sunnier skies. But let's take a look at our inland spots. Now we're talking about the East Bay, the North Bay, where well above average temperatures are lasting into this afternoon. We're talking about triple-digit heat today. We drop 20 degrees by tomorrow, down to the low 80s, upper 70s even as we head into this weekend's forecast. So a big change around the corner. We just have to get through today's heat wave first. Limit your time outside today. Continue to hydrate. Wear plenty of sunscreen too. Take good care of yourself as we head into this afternoon. Tomorrow it's going to look a lot better when it comes to the weather. We'll have more on that in a bit.
Well, the rainy season is right around the corner, and water managers are wondering if this is going to be a wet or a dry year. While there's no way to actually predict it, the city of Antioch is getting ahead of the guessing game. They've just launched a new technology that promises a secure water future. As John Ramos explains, it's all thanks to the city's past.
When it comes to drought, we tend to have a short memory. Once it starts raining, it's out of sight, out of mind. But the city of Antioch had a unique opportunity, and they've constructed one of the most innovative water plants in the Bay Area. When Marcus Woodland enters the newest addition to the city's water treatment plant, he's looking at what other cities may have in their future. One of the first operating desalination plants in the Bay Area. The water comes from the Delta, a mix of fresh and salt water called brackish. Upon arrival, the water is sent through the normal treatment process.
It is clean and filtered water. It just has a lot of salt in it. So we pump that from a plant all the way up to here. This is a first stage booster pump. This pumps it into the top, which is the first stage membranes.
Reverse osmosis pumps the salty water under high pressure through membranes with tiny holes that only water molecules can pass through. Half of it will be discharged as clean drinking water.
The other half will go down to this booster pump, which goes to this bottom, and that has 17 vessels. That'll recover about half of the water that goes in there. Half of what goes in there will become drinking water, and then the other half will be disposed at Delta Diablo, which is the wastewater treatment plant.
From there, the salty brine is released back into the Delta. The plant cost about $100 million to build, but the power costs for the huge pumps, coupled with the cost of raw water, makes the process cost prohibitive for most cities. That's where Antioch's history tips the scales. The city, nicknamed Rivertown, was established in 1849 as a river stop for the gold rush. Because of that, Antioch enjoys primary water rights from the Delta, meaning they don't have to pay for the water they take from it.
This is the water treatment plant intake.
Stan Davis began working as a city engineer in 1969. He retired nearly 30 years ago, but even then he says the city was already considering desalination as a water source.
Well, it's the only city in the area that can do that. We had the only water rights in the area to begin with, and now we've got the ability to use the water all year and not just part of the year. I think it's great. It's good to have that backup there for the additional quantity of water when the water out there is not that good.
Since it opened last week, the plant has been running 24/7, pumping out about 6 million gallons of fresh water per day. It has the potential to supply 40% of the city's water needs, and Woodland thinks with construction costs going up, it only makes sense for other cities to begin planning for desalination now.
So this would have been more beneficial a couple years ago, but everything's cyclical, so it was dry once, it'll be dry again. What point does it make financial sense for them to invest the money? Are they going to wait till they run out of water before they start seeking alternatives? Or are they going to see on the horizon that, alternative water supplies are going to be needed, so let's start the infrastructure now?
Just like the famous quote, the Bay Area is surrounded by water, water everywhere, nor any a drop to drink. But not in Antioch. They understand that waiting for a drought to happen is the wrong time to be investing in the future.
The desalination plant is used in the summer and fall when water flows from the river are low, allowing salt water to push up into the delta. When the rain begins falling, the water becomes fresh again and the plant can be taken offline. Coming up in the next half hour here on CBS News Bay Area. Could Tylenol really be linked to autism? A Bay Area doctor weighs in on the claims from the Trump administration.
You're streaming CBS News Bay Area.
Thanks for being with us this Tuesday. I'm Ann Makovic, and here's another look at some of our news headlines. Jimmy Kimmel returning to late-night TV tonight after being pulled off the air almost a week ago. But dozens of ABC affiliates will not carry the show this evening. Disney, the parent company of ABC, pulled the show last Wednesday following Kimmel's comments on Charlie Kirk's killer. Now the company says after thoughtful discussions with Kimmel, they decided to bring the show back, but stations owned by Sinclair and Nexstar say that they will continue to preempt the program. We are learning more about the 16-year-old high school student killed in a car crash in the South Bay over the weekend. Family and classmates of Isaiah Mendoza from Sunnyvale left flowers at the crash site in Santa Clara last night. Police say the teen was speeding Saturday night when he lost control and crashed into a traffic pole. 2 passengers inside his car were injured but survived. And police say 2 juveniles are responsible for a string of gang-related graffiti incidents in San Jose. Police say the vandals left their mark at several parks starting in March. Investigators say they caused more than $10,000 in damage to city property. And today, police announced the arrest of a 16 and 17-year-old suspect. They say the teens are known gang members. All right, let's get another check on our first alert forecast because it is a warm one. We are under a heat advisory and a spare the air alert today. Here's meteorologist Jessica Birch.
It is a hot day for us today here in the Bay Area. Let's pull up these numbers and show you all these triple digits stretching from Concord, Walnut Creek, off into the east, closer to Antioch, and down into the Tri-Valley area. Livermore today, sitting at 101 degrees. Let's head up to wine country. By the way, yesterday was the first day of fall. Today is the first full day of fall, and can't you tell? No, I mean, we're talking about summer-like weather widespread from wine country that should be celebrating harvest right now, and they are, but it's just not feeling like it right now. As we head over into places like San Francisco, we're at 85 degrees today, putting us 14 degrees above average there. Redwood City today, 92. That's 17 degrees above average where we should be. 95 into San Jose puts us about 15 degrees above average. It is a hot day all throughout the Bay Area. This heat risk map really does a good job at highlighting that moderate to high heat risk, especially off into the East Bay, down along the foothills into the Santa Clara Valley. Today's the day you're going to want to take it slow. I know many of us work outside, so just try limiting your time outside as much as possible. Wear plenty of sunscreen. Take advantage of that work lunch break that you have by finding a shady spot and continuing to hydrate, and make sure everyone else around you is hydrating too. Now by tomorrow, it's a completely different picture. That heat risk map goes right back to low. Reason being is we have a storm system coming in from the south. This isn't only going to drop the heat risk map, but it also brings in stormy weather, a chance of thunderstorms, which we're a little concerned about, especially after a dried out day. But we are expecting rain too, pushing in from the south, winds pushing offshore into the evening hours Wednesday night. Notice how it's not a big washout by any means, but we could see some on and off showers in the forecast all throughout the Bay as we head into Wednesday evening and a little bit on Thursday morning too. So temperatures are going to drop 20 degrees from Tuesday into Wednesday, widespread throughout the Bay Area. We're going to hold on tight to 80s all throughout our inland spots. And as we head all the way over into the Bay Area forecast, we're talking about 70s wrapping up this week.
Now to an announcement that's been making waves in the medical community. President Trump linked the use of acetaminophen, the active ingredient in Tylenol, during pregnancy to an increased risk of autism. The administration pointed to some studies suggesting a potential association between the medication and autism, but doctors say the White House announcement is not backed by the full body of scientific evidence. Acetaminophen is the only over-the-counter drug approved to treat fevers during pregnancy. The FDA has directed a label change and sent guidance to doctors saying they should consider minimizing the use of the drug. The Autism Science Foundation calls it misleading to try to point to a single cause for the condition. Autism researchers here in the Bay Area are also pushing back. Our Amanda Harry spoke with local doctors who say the announcement will cause confusion among expecting families.
It doesn't come from.
Bryna Siegel has dedicated her life to studying and helping those with autism.
Oh, you're a grown-up.
She has a nonprofit and has published multiple books on the topic. Monday, she was shocked to hear President Donald Trump's advice.
It's puzzling why some people go after such things.
Don't take Tylenol.
Trump announced at a press conference that the FDA would be notifying doctors to tell their patients that Tylenol can be associated with an increased risk of autism. Siegel says this preys on parents who are already fearful.
I think part of what we're experiencing now in the media is playing on a certain what I think of as autism hysteria or anguish that parents feel like, why did this happen to me? And now there's a new idea. And do I believe it?
She says many parents are looking for answers about why their child has autism, but it's often complex. She's studied the neurodivergence for years. It can be genetic, caused by environmental factors, or a combination of both. And while more people are being diagnosed, Tylenol is an unlikely source.
The incidence of autism has not kept a pace with the use of Tylenol. In other words, people have had access to and using Tylenol for years, and we don't see the rate of autism increasing commensurately.
What she says has likely contributed to the increase in autism diagnosis is a changing definition that includes a larger spectrum of symptoms, making more people fall under the umbrella term. Siegel says Trump's statement about certain groups not having autism likely comes from a lack of diagnosis.
Like Amish people, they don't come into the Western medicine system for care. Similarly to families that I see who've just migrated here from Burma or Laos or someplace like that where they've never heard of autism. And that doesn't mean that they never took Tylenol. It means that it's not diagnosed the same way.
Associate Professor of Psychology at Stanford University, Dr. Lawrence Fong, agrees with Siegel, saying Tylenol is sometimes not just for temporary relief, but medically necessary.
For those that are not taking Tylenol when they actually have a fever can be very problematic because the child in the womb can actually have complications when there is a fever going on, and especially if there is an infection going on.
He admits there are some studies that show a loose link between Tylenol and autism, but the reasoning is more complex.
Because taking Tylenol could be related to having infection, it can be related to having a fever, and also people that have neurodevelopmental conditions have a higher chance of taking Tylenol. So all of these are confounding factors.
Siegel expects to continue to get emails and phone calls from concerned parents, but she already knows what she's going to say.
I will just tell any parent who asks me, don't worry about that.
The announcement also sent shares for Tylenol's parent company, Kenvue, plunging on Monday. In a statement to CBS News, Kenvue says, quote, taking acetaminophen does not cause autism. We strongly disagree with any suggestion otherwise and are deeply concerned with the health risks this poses for expecting mothers. Turning Point USA has announced a stop at UC Berkeley in November as part of its American Comeback Tour. The UC Berkeley chapter posted this on social media yesterday. They announced San Francisco native comedian Rob Schneider is going to be a part of it. The tour was led by conservative podcaster Charlie Kirk before he was killed in Utah earlier this month. Organizers say Kirk himself is planning to visit the school this year. The organization advocates for conservative politics on high school and college campuses. There is a battle centered around a quarry in the town of Forestville in Sonoma County. The owners want to expand and build an asphalt plant. But a lot of people are pushing back because of the potential health and environmental impacts to the surrounding community. Our Kenny Choi shows us why this project has become such a flashpoint in the Russian River Valley.
Mining, crushing and selling rock has been the Trappy family business for decades.
We take the rock and it goes through a processing plant and we break it out into everything from base, which is being made here, to rock going to other asphalt plants.
Jonathan Trappy now wants to build an asphalt plant on the site of Canyon Rock Quarry. With only 2 asphalt plants currently operating in Sonoma County, it's good for business.
I feel like we can do it better than the next guy because of how we look at things. We own that responsibility to do it right.
But a growing group of residents are banding together to fight the proposed project.
We've got a lot of beans planted on this trellis.
Derek Trowbridge is a local winemaker and farmer whose family has for generations lived off the land. He has become the leading voice for Russian River Community Cares, a dedicated group of more than 700.
It's different if the asphalt plant is somewhere where it's not right next to a town or it's not in extreme fire danger. There's plenty of places that are closer to the freeways.
They're concerned about potential environmental impacts, including contamination of nearby waterways and more trucks on local roads.
We're going to have bigger tankers coming through town. We're going to have much more toxicity.
Trappy sees it differently, arguing trucks wouldn't have to make extra trips to other asphalt plants for road projects if a new one is built on site.
It would eliminate the traffic associated with moving that rock.
Sonoma County officials are already in the process of putting together an environmental impact report. John Mack is the Natural Resources Division Manager for Sonoma County, who points to Canyon Rock's concrete plant already on site.
Ancillary facilities are allowed at quarries. This facility already has at least one, so it's allowed. Whether it makes sense here that's what the environmental review is supposed to get to.
Max says the county had to pause the EIR process for months because of a violation at Canyon Rock.
There was an enforcement matter at this facility. They had they expanded into some areas that they weren't permitted.
As both sides dig in, the county says completion of an EIR could take years. Trappy lives on the property of the quarry and says health concerns are not an issue.
I have an immune-compromised kid, and the asphalt plant is, it'll be adjacent to it. So I feel comfortable with it.
A large company can have such a big impact on a community. That's our worry is, will they just roll over the community as if it doesn't exist? To us, that's not okay.
It took years for Trowbridge to grow and preserve various dry goods. Now he's fighting to preserve a part of his community.
The Board of Supervisors will make a final decision, but the county said that could be years down the road. Coming up next here on CBS News Bay Area, yesterday's earthquakes in Berkeley given a wake-up call to get ready for the next big one. We catch up with a seismologist who says that could come sooner than we might think.
We are overdue for a large earthquake. I think we can always be more prepared.
Warm weather is the big story for us today. Let's just say the truth. Hot weather as we head into this afternoon. Now our heat risk map highlights all the East Bay, the North Bay, and the Santa Clara Valley with either moderate or high heat today. Once we head into our forecast tomorrow, low pressure moves in fast. That drops us 20 degrees back into the 80s. But not only just cool weather, we're also gearing up for stormy weather too. Showers are expected in the forecast tomorrow with cooler weather, cloudier skies, and a chance of thunderstorm activity. So we're keeping a very close eye on that here in the Weather Center. We start to dry up heading into the weekend.
Well, that earthquake in Berkeley yesterday didn't cause any significant damage, but it does serve as a good reminder to get ready for the next big one. That was a 4.3 magnitude quake that hit around 3 yesterday morning, and it was felt around the Bay Area, followed by a couple of aftershocks, including a 3.0 at around 7 last night. Take a look at this video. The owner of a Berkeley store, Magnani's Poultry, thought there had been a break-in, but the security camera showed the earthquake broke their front window. That quake hit along the Hayward Fault. Brian Hackney spoke with seismology experts about the chances of an even bigger one striking sometime soon.
For one young Berkeley student, it was a first.
And I was awake playing with my phone this morning. Suddenly, the earthquake came, and I was completely frightened.
But it didn't rattle one expert at the U.S. Geological Survey at Moffett Field. Did you feel it?
I did not feel it. I live in San Mateo, and I was pretty asleep.
Dr. Anne-Marie Bolte is a geophysicist with USGS. And as for this quake,
I think right now our understanding is that this is really a garden variety typical Hayward Fault earthquake.
And this side of the fault is a little bit higher than this side of the fault.
the Hayward Fault stretches for 35 miles from Fremont in the south, right through Point Pinole to the north. And on top, thousands of homes and businesses.
I would guarantee you that that person has no idea that they just crossed the Hayward Fault.
David Schwartz has been watching it for decades.
Is this it?
In the Hayward Fault has about 450 structures built completely across it.
Based on my instinct, just ran out of my room.
No wonder so many people felt it. The 4.3 was the biggest quake on this part of the fault in 7 years. Still,
it's really just telling us, hey, Hayward Fault's here, it's alive. Everything kind of is conforming to our models.
That model shows that big earthquakes happen on the fault with sobering regularity.
Where are we in the cycle of significant magnitude 6.7 quakes on the Hayward Fault?
It's a great question. The last major earthquake on the Hayward Fault was in 1868, and we think they recur about every 140 years. So by that math, we are overdue for a large earthquake. In fact, we think there's about 2/3 chance, so more likely than not, of that occurring in the next 20 years.
Most know about the massive 1906 San Francisco quake. Few were aware that that quake was preceded by a much smaller foreshock. So this innocent 4.3?
I thought, could this be a foreshock to the overdue Hayward Fault quake? Could it have been?
It could have been, yes.
The chance of this being a foreshock to a bigger quake diminishes with every passing hour, but...
Do you think we're really ready for a magnitude 6.7 on the Hayward Fault?
That's a great question. I think we can always be more prepared. And we know we're still working to ensure everything is retrofit and we have communications. So I think we are ready, and we can always be more ready and more prepared.
Oh, boy. Well, it is important to be prepared, but before we get too worried, the USGS says there is about a 2% chance of another magnitude 4 and above quake happening in the area within the next week. For a magnitude 5 and above, less than 1%. Coming up here on CBS News Bay Area, a Bay Area icon marking a milestone. Betty Reed Saskin celebrating her 104th birthday. We spoke with this living legend as she looked back on half a century of civil service.
relative humidity is low today, on top of the fact that we're in the moderate to high heat risk throughout the East Bay and the Santa Clara Valley. I turn the page to our forecast tomorrow, though. Notice how that goes completely away. We're back to low conditions as we head into our forecast tomorrow. Temperatures below average, actually, in some parts of the Bay Area as we're gearing up for storms sweeping in Wednesday morning throughout the South Bay, pushing up into the North Bay throughout the afternoon and evening hours tomorrow night. It will wring out a little bit more moisture into Thursday morning before it starts to track off into the east, clearing us up as we head into this weekend's forecast. So we start off with the Bay forecast. I want to show you, today we're in the 80s throughout most of the Bay, and then we cool down fast to the 70s with showers in the forecast tomorrow, averaging out into the mid 70s as we head into this weekend by Friday, heading into Saturday with some sunnier skies. But let's take a look at our inland spots. Now we're talking about the East Bay, the North Bay, where well above average temperatures are lasting into this afternoon. We're talking about triple digit heat today. We drop 20 degrees by tomorrow down to the low 80s, upper 70s even as we head into this weekend's forecast. So a big change around the corner. We just have to get through today's heat wave first. Limit your time outside today. Continue to hydrate. Wear plenty of sunscreen too. Take good care of yourself as we head into this afternoon. Tomorrow it's going to look a lot better when it comes to the weather. We'll have more on that in a bit.
A special celebration for a Bay Area legend. Betty Reed Soskin just turned 104 years old. She has been integral to the preservation of Black history here in the Bay Area. She worked as a file clerk during World War II, ran a successful record store business, and worked with the National Park Service to develop the Rosie the Riveter National Park in Richmond. Our Kara St. Cyr tagged along for her special day yesterday.
Betty Reed Soskin, greeted with the enthusiasm fit for an icon.
Beautiful. Oh, I'm so glad you like it.
The occasion, her 104th birthday, another milestone in her storied life.
How are you feeling at 104?
But if you ask her, September 22nd is just another day.
It doesn't feel much different than it did yesterday.
Soskin has seen much in her 104 years. Born to Louisiana Creoles in New Orleans, her family settled in the East Bay, where she took an active stand against Jim Crow laws. But she says her life really began long after that.
There have been so many parts of my history that have been stood out. And they all started after I was 50.
Her claim to fame would come in her 80s when she became a park ranger at Rosie the Riveter National Historical Park in Richmond. She told stories of African Americans during World War II, specifically the story of the Port Chicago explosion, which killed 320 people, mostly Black sailors, and exposed racial segregation in the armed forces.
It was their sacrifice that launched the desegregation of the armed forces for the country and the world. I mean, they changed history.
She would do that job until she was 100, making her the oldest park ranger in history.
Your life has been such an inspiration.
A service Mina Harris, author and niece of Kamala Harris, says should be celebrated.
I think that she defines what it means to be an American hero, and I look to her, especially in moments like this where, day to day can feel really overwhelming. And I think that she's such an incredible reminder of what it can look like to make an impact in your own community.
Soskin's story is plastered on the walls of the middle school that now bears her name, where her granddaughter, Aliana Reed, hopes everyone sees.
Having somebody so close to me as an example and as a role model is extremely special to me.
An inspiration 104 years in the making.
1, 2, 3.
She is so great. Soskin met President Obama when she participated in the national tree lighting ceremony in 2015, which she says was one of the most memorable experiences of her life. Thanks for streaming CBS News Bay Area. I'm Ann Makovic. We're going to be right back with your First Alert forecast and another look at your top stories.